What's up, Tan and J-Man Show Nation? This is Tanner Lee, one half of the Tan and J-Man Show. And on behalf of myself and my co-host, Josh the J-Man Munt, we want to thank you for listening to our podcast. While you're at it, on whatever platform you're listening on, please hit that subscribe button. And if it happens to be on Apple Podcasts, please give us a rating and review. That really helps us out. If you're interested in watching our show is recorded live every Monday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch that on the ISC Sports Network, on the free ISC Sports Network app, on the ISC Sports Network Facebook page, and their Twitter page. While you're at it, on those social media channels, please give us a like on our Facebook page. Please give us a follow on our Twitter and Instagram page at Tan and J-Man Show. And if you want to support our podcast and look great doing so, we have a merchandise store. You can go to any of our social media pages, click the link, click Tan and J-Man Show store, and you'll find whatever you're looking for. Short sleeve t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts, coffee mugs, you name it, we got it. So thanks again for supporting the podcast. Now sit back, relax, and here comes another exciting brand new episode of the Tan and J-Man Show. It's Monday night. You know what that means. Another brand new episode of the Tan and J-Man Show, episode 243 to be exact. I'm Tanner Lee, usually alongside Josh J-Man Munt, but filling in his absence is our good friend Evan Webb. Webby, thanks for joining me tonight. What is going on?
Thanks for having me, Tan. So I'm excited to be here. A little nervous to try and fill into the J-Man, get some big shoes to fill.
Big shoes indeed, but this is probably the third time we've had you on, I think.
Yeah, I think third or fourth. I can't remember. I think I've been in person a couple times. I can't remember if I've done one virtually yet.
I can't remember either. You do this for about 5 years, you kind of lose track. But for everybody that might be listening or watching for the first time, is unfamiliar with you, kind of explain to everybody your sports fandom a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I live here in Indianapolis, but I am not an Indianapolis fan in any sport, really. When it comes to pro sports, I'm all Chicago, South Side, more specifically when it comes to baseball. Best record in the AL League or in AL, but we'll get to that later. Chicago Bulls fan, which has been painful lately. Bears fan, which is typically painful for the most part. But then those are my pro sports, and Blackhawks as well. But really, when it comes to sports, I live and die with Purdue athletics, specifically basketball and football, as you do as well, Tan.
Yep, that's something we can definitely agree on. I mean, we have our pro sports allegiances, but Purdue's definitely comes first and foremost, and that's who we take pride in their wins and cry when they lose. So
very accurate.
Favorite athletes of each of those teams all time, real quick.
Ooh, that's a great question. I was not prepared for this.
Put me on the spot. That's what I like to do.
Bulls, I'll go with players I've obviously witnessed. It's very easy to say Michael Jordan, but I don't remember Michael Jordan as a Bull. I remember him as playing for the Wizards. But Derrick Rose, I can't imagine Derrick Rose ever being unseated as my favorite Bull ever. He's kind of what got me back into watching the NBA and as a Bulls fan in general. Bears, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I loved watching Matt Forte when he was.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, defense, you could pick anybody. Lance Briggs was awesome to watch. So was Urlacher, but I loved watching Forte. I mean, you can't really pick a quarterback or wide receiver because the Bears never seem to have a good one for the most part. Blackhawks, probably Patrick Kane or Jonathan Taves, the captain. White Sox, I guess we're talking current players, or was your question more just in general?
Just in general.
Yeah, White Sox, I've always said my favorite player has been Jermaine Dye in the history, just because, I mean, the magical 2005 World Series run, he was World Series MVP. Sure. Loved Mark Burley, Paul Konerko, all those guys. When you get to Purdue, that's when it gets really, really muddy. There's so many to choose from. I mean, football, you probably have to go with Drew Brees. I mean, watched him as a kid, and, it's been so awesome to watch him as a pro and really represent Purdue pretty well, and show his love for Purdue, which you don't always get when guys leave college. And then basketball, that's probably the toughest one. I mean, probably Robbie Hummel has been my all-time favorite. Carson Edwards is right there behind him. I'm sure our good buddy Andrew Ellery might expect me to say Aaron Wheeler, but I'll miss him.
Yes, I think it would be easier probably for each of those for you to say your least favorite player. I mean, when it comes to favorites, it's tough to pick.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's tough to pick, but I'm glad you shared your Chicago fandom with everybody because that is the topic of tonight's Birdie Bogey question.
Oh God. Okay.
So tonight is the Home Run Derby. It's at
Uh-huh.
Coors Field. The White Sox all time have had 5 participants in the Home Run Derby. Can you name 4 of them? 4 will get you a birdie, or 5. And
Okay.
3, I'll give you. If you get 3, you'll get a par. So 5 all time since the Derby started in 1985. I'll give you that.
Okay.
So
Since
1985, since 85 through 2019, since there wasn't one last year.
Okay.
So, yep.
I'm feeling strangely confident, which means I'm probably going to get like 1 right, if that.
It's a tricky thing.
It is, yeah.
The more confidence you have, the worse it usually turns out.
At first, I was like, "There's no way." Then I was like, "Oh, maybe him." But then, I'm like, okay, this guy maybe was in it, but you never know if they accept the invite or not, or
right.
Who knows? So,
well, you got about 55 minutes to think on it. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'll forget every player I'm thinking of by the time I get to the end. So,
I'll refresh your memory. And the Birdie Bogey segment. This is a different read for me. This is usually J-Man's spot, so this is different. It is brought to you by, like it is every week, Noble Gnome LLC. Noble Gnome's freshly, locally grown, nutrient-dense produce from Bryce and Katie Romine in Mentone, Indiana. You can like them on Facebook, follow them on Instagram at Noble Gnome LLC. And right now, let's see here. Well, it might help if I have Facebook open. Awesome.
Hot start.
Oh yeah. Well, they have been
at the J-Man.
It does. they have been at the Kosciuszko County Farmers Market as of late. I could tell you that much, but I was going to read off exactly what they've been having. And last time they were there, they had green onions, lettuce, cucumbers, kale, turnips, radishes, chard, cherry tomatoes, fennel, garlic scapes, jalapeno and serrano peppers, rosemary, thyme, cilantro, mint, and more. So they had a whole bunch of stuff. And of course, they are partnered right now with Market Wagon, which you can get on Market Wagon and find all their products. You search for Noble Gnome. And what Market Wagon is pretty much you can get vegetables home delivery. So Market Wagon can deliver your Noble Gnome vegetables straight to your doorstep. So as J-Man said, there's no excuse not to have some vegetables in your diet. So get your veggies.
Yes, sir.
And we thank them for sponsoring the Birdie Bogey like they do every week. All right, Webby. Well, let's get right into the MLB. The first half is in the books now as the home run derbies tonight, All-Star game tomorrow. Second half starts later this week. You got the South Side shirt on tonight.
Yes,
we usually don't talk about the White Sox too much, but I'm going to let you have your moments. So far, first half, how's it gone for you as a White Sox fan? I got to think you're pretty happy.
Yeah, very happy, to be honest with you. It's been also a little strange just because we struggled with injuries a lot. I mean, if you had told me that there'd be 8 games in the division lead when you're starting two of your starting outfielders and one of your better hitters, and Eloy Jimenez got hurt in spring training, and then Luis Robert got hurt not too long after that, we'd be in the position we are. I'd be shocked. And I mean, I don't want to give credit to Tony La Russa, but credit where credit's due. I mean, I was talking with my dad a couple weeks ago, and he was giving props to him. I immediately just kind of scoffed at it just because I'm not a Tony La Russa fan. But the fact that he's been able to rally the guys and, get them in a position where they are is pretty impressive. I mean, you got to think he's probably up there for manager of the year. I think I'm blanking on his name, but the Giants manager's got to be the front runner for it right now, probably. But given the injuries that the Sox have had, you can definitely make a case for Tony. But it's been fun. I mean, they've been playing fun baseball. The fact that, it's great to see Tim Anderson get his first All-Star, appearance, which is awesome. He's probably my favorite current player on the Sox right now. Along with they've got a couple of pitchers in the game as well. But yeah, I mean, the one thing I am a little worried about is, I mean, the Central is not very good. The Indians are in second and they're 3 games above 500, but the rest of the division is pretty garbage.
Yeah.
Not as bad as the NL East, I would say, but it's not great. But I mean, you play who's on your schedule, but what worries me is, when you get to the playoffs, which obviously hopefully the Sox can hold on to I would be so disappointing if they blow an 8-game lead in the second half. But when you get to the playoffs, everybody's good, and the Sox record's not that great against teams that are above 500. They're great against teams that are under 500, but that's what kind of worries me. I mean, not too long ago we got our butts absolutely whooped by Houston, which is who we start with right after the All-Star break. So I think, you don't want to put a whole lot on the first series out, but you got to make a statement. We're beating up on our division and the lesser teams, but that's what I'll be looking for in the second half, is if we can turn around and get some of those guys back that have been hurt. I know Eloy's, he's actually went from high A, he's going straight to triple A for his rehab. Hoping he can get back, hopefully early August. I think it's kind of what they're hoping for. And Luis Robert not too long after that. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with Jimenez if they put him back in left field when Andrew Vaughn's been playing really, really well. I don't think you can really take him out. I think Eloy is probably more of a DH at this point. But it'll be interesting to see what Tony does. And he's been actually pretty good about sitting guys when I need to sit and kind of rotating guys in and out. So I think will be kind of a big thing to watch in the second half.
Well, and I think the White Sox are going to be buyers here soon. I think they're going to be pretty aggressive.
That was kind of something I was just like, man, I don't know what they do, but it's definitely, they DFA'd Adam Eaton, which was kind of a surprise. But I think it shows that they're here to win now. I thought maybe it was like, okay, maybe win in the next couple of years, but they're just the way things are kind of looking. They're here to win right now in 2021. And yeah, I'm just worried that if they get bounced in the ALDS, like what's gonna happen? It's just all this momentum that's been building and building. And then, last year to make playoffs was awesome. First time in forever.
08, I think 08 was the last time.
Yeah. So it's, you build and build and build, and then, you get all this hype in the first half of the season, the best team in the city, while the Cubs are probably going to be sellers at this point, they're looking good for a while, but then they kind of really tank there. So it's like, man, you get you can be the one team in the city to make the playoffs, and it would just really suck if they just get bounced in the ALDS. But you want to make sure you win the division. That's not get in the wild card game. Yeah, that's obviously a key thing. I think, obviously in a really, really good spot, being 8 games up and having the best record in the AL right now at the break. But I'm a lot like the J-Man, where I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I've seen it too many times, and just preparing for the heartbreak. But we'll see what happens. I think they are going to be buyers. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do. If it's more outfield help, if it's infield help, I'm not sure if they're going to go after pitching, but who knows?
Watch for Trevor Story. He's a name I keep getting thrown out there. I think tonight's going to be his last big event as a Colorado Rocky. His contract's up after this year. No way he's back in Colorado. So I could see the White Sox going after somebody like him. Mm-hmm. My concern with him would be, can he hit outside of Coors Field?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I have to share this with you. I think you'll appreciate this. My uncle, who's a Chicago Cub fan, lives up in Chicago. He's been very frustrated with them lately. His son-in-law is a big White Sox fan. Shout out to Matt Skura. I know he listens to this podcast. So they went to a White Sox game a few weeks ago. And he sent my dad and I this text the following day. He said, went to the Sox game last night. Great ballpark. Puts Wrigley to shame. Only half full, but easy in and out. Great food, no long lines, and the Sox actually score runs. I'm on the edge. Maybe the Sox will pick up KB from the Cubs.
Wow. You don't often hear people. I haven't been to Wrigley in a long time. I know you and I are going there in another month for a different reason than a baseball game, but I like to joke about how Wrigley's a dump, but I really haven't been there in years, so I really can't say much. Just, as you do, you say a bunch of stuff and not actually back it up. But it's not very often you hear someone say that Wrigley is worse than Guaranteed Rate Field, which is probably up there with one of the worst names for a ballpark, including the logo, which is an arrow down, but it's beside the point. But I mean, I really like Guaranteed Rate Field. I mean, it's obviously not in the greatest area. I mean, I think what makes it really, really awesome is obviously the history, but then the area around it is just so fun. I know the Sox are trying to do that on the south side, but can only do so much down there. But I mean, I really like the ballpark. I mean, it's obviously a bit more modern. I always have a good time. I'm hoping to get back there, hopefully end of the month, early August for a game. I like to see them really good for once.
I think that's what he was saying. It's just more modern. I mean, Wrigley is Wrigley because of the tradition, and Wrigleyville and everything, even though Wrigleyville's changed a bunch in the last few years. Mm-hmm. But the Sox have a kind of a party atmosphere going on. They're kind of getting their own bleacher section going in the outfield. They're getting the beer snake going as well, like Wrigley. So, winning makes people show up.
Yeah, that's the thing is when they're winning, it's fun. I was a little disappointed. I think the first game that they were allowed to do full capacity, I don't think they filled it, which is a bit of a bummer. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that place will be rocking come postseason assuming they get in. So
bring back disco. Bring back disco.
Disco Sucks night. Yeah, let's bring it on.
Disco Sucks. That's it. Yeah. Oh man. Wow. What an idea that was.
Yeah, something.
But let's look at the MLB standings right now, the halfway point. Yep, there's definitely some surprises and some disappointments for sure. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. The AL East.
Let's start with this.
Yeah, let's do that. The Boston Red Sox, they've been a surprise. A lot of people had them preseason picked fourth in the division, but they're definitely contenders. They're not pretenders. Mm-hmm. They're a solid team. And then you got the Tampa Bay Rays, a game and a half. I've said this many, many times on the podcast. I think they're the most well-run organization in sports. I mean, what they do with that low payroll year in, year out is unbelievable. Got the Yankees and the Blue Jays both 8 games back. The Yankees, it just depends on the week. Some weeks they look great. Some weeks they look like trash.
So what's on the horizon for them at the break?
That's a great question. I don't think they'll be buyers. They could be sellers. I don't think they do much of anything. But Aaron Boone, for his sake, he better hope they make the playoffs. Yeah. If they miss the playoffs, I think he might be a goner. And you don't get a lot of time in New York, even though
you don't.
The Yankees haven't done anything since 2009. That was their last World Series championship, let alone championship. They just haven't done much. They were close a few years ago, then lost the last 2 games of the series to the Astros. The whole, trash can gate and everything. Yeah. But what
was your thought? I mean, I thought what Judge did the other night against the Altuve was hilarious. I loved it.
The Yankees they got some players that have swagger like that. Yeah. But so I think they're having fun. They just can't put it together. And I loved what he did too. And he was just telling his guys it's cold outside, button up. And then Altuve takes his shirt or jersey off. The game after, which is what it is. They were really trying to pump that as a rivalry earlier this year. It still is pretty tense, but maybe not as much as it was in April. Then you got the Orioles, who are just trash. Let's be honest. They're 28-61. Yeah. They're just not good. We kind of went over the Central, but I will say the Twins, what a disappointment they've been this year.
I hate to see it.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. They were really good last year. I thought they'd be contending for the AL Central. Even though the White Sox, that was one of my bold predictions, they'd at least make the ALCS. So far, they're looking good. AL West, you got the Astros in the driver's seat, 3.5 games up on the Athletics. Then you got the Mariners, 7 games behind, still looking for their first postseason berth in 20 years. I don't think it's going to happen. Then you got the Angels, 9 games back. We talk about them a lot on the podcast because they're just wasting Mike Trout, even though he's injured, and now Shohei Ohtani. I mean, you got 2 of the most explosive, entertaining players in the league, and you can't make the playoffs.
I mean, just by the way that ESPN talks about Ohtani, you'd think that the Angels were in first place. And, I mean, I'd probably even think that half the time then I check the standings, I'm like, oh, they are way down there.
Right. It's just we really haven't ever seen – I mean, going back to Babe Ruth, we haven't seen a guy who hits with this much power and is a good pitcher. Right. And it was incredible to me last week when the Angels hitting coach revealed that Ohtani doesn't even take batting
practice. Yeah, that's wild.
Who needs it, I guess, when you're that good? Yeah. And then you got the Texas Rangers, 19.5 games out of that division. The NL East, you brought up earlier, pretty disappointing division.
Pretty bad.
The New York Mets. See, I really just want to throw up going over a lot of these standings. They're 3.5 games over the Phillies. We'll see, though. We'll see if the Mets can hang on. Their pitching's really good, so they're always going to be in it. But it's the Mets. I'm waiting for them to choke. I'm waiting for the shoe to fall. Got the Phillies hanging on right there in second spot. Then the Braves, 4 games behind. Braves started to catch up a little bit. They're probably my most disappointing team in the league in the first half. I thought they were going to be really, really good. The Nationals 6 game and the Marlins 9 games. So really nobody's out of it in that division. No. Even the Marlins, even though I doubt they're going to catch anybody.
Yeah.
Then you got the NL Central. The Brewers had a really comfortable lead a week ago. Now it's 4 games with the Cincinnati Reds closing the gap. I know that makes a lot of listeners of this podcast pretty happy. Then you got the Cubs and Cardinals 8 games back. Cardinals, I believe ESPN said their percent to make the playoffs is like 1.9 or something, which is so the Cubs are right there too.
Yeah.
And then the Pirates 18 games, which honestly is better than I thought they would be doing at this point.
They have quite a few guys in the All-Star game. Did I read that right, or am I missing that? Did I misread something that they had?
I haven't looked over the All-Star rosters too specifically, so I couldn't tell you. But I know at the start of the year, good friend of the show and loyal listener and viewer, Sean Shriver, he's a big Pittsburgh Pirates fan. He said they were going to pretty much field a AAA team this year. So for them not to be in last place, I would say it's a win for Pirate fans right now.
No, I saw some on Twitter. Must have been something that was not accurate because I thought they had some guys, but what I saw was not right.
And then you got
a couple guys, but
the NL West, the Giants have been the surprise of the league, I think. 57-32 record. Then you got the LA Dodgers 2.5 games back.
Yeah.
I still think they're the most dangerous team in the league. And then the Padres 6 games back, they're dangerous as well. Then you got the Rockies 18 games back and the Diamondbacks 32 games back with a record of 26-65.
Yikes.
Ouch. Yeah, that's
good thing the Suns are good.
Oh, you're right. You're right. And the Cardinals should be fun to watch too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, Coyotes, not so much.
No.
But, the Diamondbacks, I didn't think they were going to be good, but I didn't think they were going to be that bad. They've been atrocious, especially on the road. But so have the Colorado Rockies. They got the best record in the league at home, but one of the worst, if not the worst record on the road in the league. So it's just like –
they got 9-34 on the road, and I'm not seeing a worse record here.
It's not good. But if the playoffs started today, the White Sox would win the Central, of course. Red Sox win the East. Astros win the West, like I said. The Rays and the Athletics would be the 2 wild card spots. With the Mariners 3.5 games out, the Yankees, Indians, and Blue Jays all 4.5 games out. And in the National League, Giants, Brewers, Mets would win the divisions, and the Dodgers and Padres would be your 2 wild card teams, with the Reds 3.5 games out and the Phillies 6.5 games out. So I don't see a lot changing in the NL standings.
Yeah, there's some really good teams in the NL.
Maybe like I said, maybe the Mets fall, but I think the Brewers win the Central. I could see the Giants slipping and the Dodgers catching them, but the Giants and the Padres still getting the wild card. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Home Run Derby tonight, All-Star game tomorrow. Coors Field. It was supposed to be at Atlanta originally, but they got switched. Here are your 8 Home Run Derby contestants tonight. Shohei Ohtani of the Los Angeles Angels, Joey Gallo of the Texas Rangers, Matt Olson of the Oakland Athletics, Salvador Perez of the Kansas City Royals, Pete Alonso of the New York Mets, Trey Mancini of the Baltimore Orioles, Trevor Story of the Colorado Rockies, and Juan Soto of the Washington Nationals. Who is your pick tonight?
If you would have asked me about 3 hours ago or 4 hours ago, I would have said I'd probably just picked Ohtani just because of the name. But in our group chat, our good buddy Cameron Screeton and new father, congrats to Camo and Riley.
Yes.
I think his pick was Joey Gallo, so I'm gonna go with Camo on this one.
He is a hitting coach at the.
He is a hitting coach. He knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing, but I'm not agreeing with him. The NL part of me wants to take Trevor Story at home, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take Matt Olson of the Oakland Athletics. I don't know why. I'm just feeling it. I'm usually wrong with my Home Run Derby picks. Do you usually watch the Derby?
I haven't in a while. I tried to catch something. I think it's a really fun event. I mean, really, the MLB All Star like games are probably one of the ones I enjoy watching the most, just because there's actually something that they're playing for, whether or not you agree if whether or not the winner of the AL NL game wins or gets home field advantage. But beside the point, but I usually enjoy the MLB All Star festivities the most out of any pro sport.
Oh yeah, it's the Pro Bowl's a joke.
Pro Bowl's a joke.
Which I don't blame those guys for not trying. You don't want to get hurt. Yeah. I do like they're trying to bring the skills competitions back and stuff. That's kind of fun. NBA All-Star Game, the game's a joke. Dunk contest and 3-point shootout skills competition, still kind of fun to watch, but not like it was a decade ago.
Right.
But I do like watching the Derby. I think tonight's going to be really fun. I mean, there's always bombs in the Derby, but add the altitude of course. Yeah. My goodness, we're going to see some moonshots tonight.
Yeah. I like when they changed it up too. They changed up the format from prior years. In the last couple of years, they've changed it up, which I think shows that they're trying to be creative and innovative, which is some sports don't always try and do.
Right, because you look at the year, I always go back to 2008, the last year of Old Yankee Stadium when Josh Hamilton put on a show, but he didn't win it.
Right.
I think Bobby Abreu won it, if I'm not mistaken, that year. I mean, yeah, back in the day, guys could just hit like 100 in one round but still lose.
Right.
But that's one of the derbies I remember the most is 2008. I also remember when Great American hosted a couple years ago and Todd Frazier, the Todd father, had that place rocking. Literally, the camera was rocking. So that was pretty cool. So it's always fun to see guys get hot and hit some bombs. So I'll probably watch more of that tonight than I will the All-Star game tomorrow, to be honest. But any other thoughts on the MLB?
No, it's finally fun to be excited about baseball again on the South Side. So usually I'll really look forward to the season. Then June hits and it's over for me because it's too far out of it. Maybe even May. I mean, they've gotten playing well, and I say it's exciting. They're playing a fun brand of baseball. Kind of like you said with the Yankees, they got some guys with some swagger that really enjoy just playing the game, and they're trying to change the game in terms of how it's, not this, unwritten rule crap that people always talk about. They're showing emotion. I mean, as a lot of young players are throughout the league, which is really fun to see. It makes it a lot more enjoyable. I mean, obviously it makes the old heads angry, but whatever. Yeah.
I mean, they need something going for them. I mean, even if they don't win the World Series or even make the World Series this year, if they make the postseason, they're young. They got a lot of talent and potential. The futures are bright. That should be appealing to free agents.
Absolutely.
I mean, in the past, we saw them that one year go get Todd Frazier, Melky Cabrera, and help me out. Who was the pitcher that year?
Oh God,
they got somebody. But besides that big haul, they don't really go out and get a ton of free agents. If the free agents are going somewhere in Chicago, it's to the north side.
And usually if they're getting a big name, it's usually someone who's on the very back end of their career. Like remember they got Griffey one year, which was really cool, but he was old at that point and injured too much. That was one of the big ones. I mean, Jim Thome was an awesome acquisition.
He was good.
When they got him. He's probably one that's panned out, the most in the last 15 years probably that actually did something. So usually it's when they get a big name, it's usually someone who's not in their prime, we'll say.
Yeah, because they got money, they got the big city, but like the Mets with the Yankees, they're always going to be overshadowed by the other franchise.
Always the second team, even if they were to win 3 straight, it's still a Northside town.
It is. Well, are you ready to get educated about some sporting events that happened on July 12th?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Let me bring up my list here. I briefly scanned these earlier today. On this day in 1901, a guy named Cy Young won his 300th game.
Wasn't too bad.
No, I mean you get an award named after yourself.
Yeah,
you did a few things right.
You did all right.
Also, another guy who did all right on this day in 1921, Babe Ruth. He set a record of 137 career home runs.
Wow.
He would go on to hit 714. Then Hank Aaron would take that crown, and then Barry Bonds with an asterisk next to it would take that crown. All right. Another Babe Ruth one here on this day in 1927. Babe Ruth was halfway to his MLB record of 60 home runs, smack number 30. in the ninth inning, New York's 7-0 win over the Cleveland Indians at Dunn Field.
What's crazy, and sorry to cut you off, but what's crazy about those guys is if you were to plant them in today's game, they would no chance. It'd be like us up there. It's just it's just so funny to think about, one of the greatest of all time. But it's like if we hate, comparing generations, but it's like if you take Babe Ruth and put him in today's game, I'm not sure he's making contact from some of these guys.
They didn't even wear helmets.
Right.
I mean,
it's just so funny to think about.
Yes, it is. On this day, 1928, the first televised tennis match took place.
Wow. Okay.
I wouldn't have guessed it was that early.
No.
On this day, 1930, can you tell me who won the U.S. Open in golf?
I was afraid you're going to ask me these questions. I have zero idea.
Bobby Jones.
Okay.
Won his record-tying fourth U.S. Open title by 2 strokes from McDonald Smith to win his third consecutive major title.
So I need to make like a name generator and I have a better chance of getting it right by that than
I probably would have threw out Bobby Jones because he's like the only really, really old golfer I know. Besides that,
no idea. Yes, golf, as you know, is not my forte, we'll say.
All right, let's see here. On this day, 1931, 45,715 fans in 35,000-seat Sportsman Park, St. Louis, helped cause many ground rule doubles, 11 in the first game and 21 in second game for 32.
Holy cow.
Well, if you pack a stadium with 12,000 people that it holds, you're going to have some problems.
Yeah. That's a fire hazard if I ever heard of one.
On this day, 1949, the 16th All-Star Game was held at Ebbets Field. The AL beat the NL 11-7. On this day, 1949, the LA Rams signed Norm Van Brocklin, pretty legendary quarterback, threw 7 touchdowns in one game. On this day, 1959, NBC uses cameras to show catchers' signals during the Yankee Red Sox game. Something we take for granted seeing all the time.
Yeah. Now they're using it to steal signals.
Yes, they are, and many more things. On this day, 1970, who won the British Open for men's golf? You can do it.
If I feel if I throw out someone's name, it's going to be. I just lost. I want to sound dumb. I'm going to sound dumb. Palmer.
A good guess. His arch rival, Jack Nicklaus. Good guess. Okay.
I was thinking Nicklaus, but I couldn't remember his name. And I was like, who's the guy with the drink? Palmer. That's right. I'll go with him. I couldn't remember if those guys were. I knew they were old, but I'm always bad with like years and how old they actually are.
Even though Jack has a drink too, he kind of tried to copy it off Arnold.
Even
though they're friends, but Arnold's is better. He won over in St. Andrews, the Open over Doug Sanders by 1 stroke in the event's first ever 18-hole playoff to win the second of his 3 Open championships. On this day in 1975, British Open was won at Carnoustie by Tom Watson in an 18-hole playoff by 1 stroke over Jack Newton of Australia. It was Watson's first of 8 major titles and his first of 5 Open championships. And I did not even, I swear, know this happened on this day in 1979, Disco Demolition Night at Carnoustie Park. Did not even know. I did not plan for that. The fans go wild, destroying disco records and caused the White Sox to forfeit the second game of a doubleheader against the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, there's a disc jockey playing that. I can't remember his name. I'm sure I could phone a friend of my dad. He would know the name. But yeah, it was I mean, I hate disco too, so I'm all for it. But man, that was a complete disaster.
I am glad that worked its way into this list. I swear I didn't look that up.
It was just nuts what was going on.
On this day, 1989, New York Yankee pitching great Ron Guidry, Louisiana Lightning, retired with a record of 170 wins and 91 losses and a career ERA of 3.29. On this day, 1996, Kirby Puckett, legendary center fielder for the Minnesota Twins, he retired after 12 seasons due to loss of vision in one of his eyes.
Wasn't too bad.
No, he was pretty good. On this day in 1996, a guy named Michael Jordan, he was pretty good.
Not too bad.
He signed an NBA contract with the Chicago Bulls for 1 year for $30.1 million. That worked out well for both sides.
Yeah, not too bad.
On this day in 1997, the Cubs played in their 5,000th consecutive game without being no-hit.
Dang.
That's pretty impressive.
That's impressive. Is that a record? Is that?
It didn't say record, but I gotta think it's up there.
It's got to be up there. Jamie, I don't know.
On this day in 2015, who won the men's Wimbledon title?
2015. I mean, a safe guess is Federer.
He lost to Djokovic.
Okay, I was between Federer and Nadal. I can remember if Djokovic had really arrived. I guess I can't remember if he had really arrived then. I guess he's been on the scene for quite a while. But
he won in 2014, defended his title in 2015 for his third Wimbledon crown at the time.
Okay,
and he of course won it again over the weekend.
Yep.
So. And that's going to do it for today's On This Day, which is brought to you by, like it is every week, Proforma Print House. If you're looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for your next trade show, company picnic, or sales meeting, Proforma Print House has over 50 years combined experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for fast and efficient response to all your print needs. You need to look no further. Let them be your one-source print and promotional company by giving them a call today at 574-210-3815. NBA Finals going on, Webby.
Yes, they are.
Game 3 was at the Fiserv Forum last week. Last night, not last week. Last night, I'm sure the Bucks were wishing it was last week because they need the series to get back to Milwaukee as soon as possible after dropping the first 2 games out in Phoenix. But they got the win last night by a score of 120-100 to close the series gap to 2-1. Game 4 will be Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Did you watch any of the game, and what were your thoughts?
I caught most of the second quarter, which when I turned it on, it was the Suns were up by about 6, and then the Bucks just went on an absolute tear. Bobby Portis, the former Bull, which kind of hurt my heart, just took over along with Giannis.
Giannis only poured in 41 last night.
It wasn't too bad of a game. But I really enjoyed watching it. I really haven't been able to catch many of the games. Which is sad because this is probably the one finals that I've really been invested in. I know you and Jamie have talked about it, but I really enjoyed the finals back in 2015 with the Warriors and Cavs. I think it was 2015. I really like those Warriors teams. Those were fun to watch, but it's nice to finally see some different teams in it. And I should be watching, but I just haven't got a chance to. But I really enjoyed watching what I saw. I mean, both teams were playing pretty well. Obviously, the Suns had a little bit of a slump there going to halftime, which is I know Devin Booker really struggled. She struggled last game in the second quarter too. I still like the Suns. I think I'm just being very biased just because I really want Purdue grad Etuan Moore to get a championship. He's probably in one of his final years of his career, which has been an amazing career for someone who's probably deemed the third best player on those Purdue teams coming out of when he graduated. I'm still saying Suns in 6.
I agree with you. I think I almost want to say Milwaukee's get tied up Wednesday night, but then the Suns are going to close them out with 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
Or does it flip?
I think it goes 1-1-1. I'm
gonna double check that.
The Suns have home court. Correct. Since they
yes,
started
they do.
Yes, I think it would go 1-1-1.
You're right.
Either that or they're going to go 2-3-2, which I don't think it does that.
It goes 5-6-7-1-1-1. You're right. Yep. That shows my my NBA fandom. No, I agree. I watched a little bit of last night's game. The Bucks just jumped on them and wouldn't let go. Chris Middleton had 18 points. Drew Holiday 20-plus points last night. I mean, they were getting contributions from everybody. Pat Connaughton, Notre Dame's own, who I never thought would be a decent NBA player. He had 8 points last night, but he played 30 minutes. Everybody. Brook Lopez, 11 points in 21 minutes, but he makes his presence felt on the defensive end of the court. It's these guys that have been castaways at other places,
Right.
finding their role in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were talking before we started recording, and on the Suns, you have Cameron Payne, who again played for the Bulls, and I remember seeing, right as the Suns have been making their run, an old article was brought up that there was an interview with a Bulls executive. I'm probably sure he's not even in the front office anymore, given this comment. But they mentioned that when they brought in Cameron Payne, they said that they knew within a couple practices that he couldn't compete at the NBA level, and now he's backing up Chris Paul in the NBA Finals. So,
yeah, the Bulls have not had the best front office for many years, but I think they're on the right path now with their new hires. I think they're on the right path.
Yeah.
But the Suns, like you said last night, Devin Booker struggled mightily. 3 for 14 from the field, 10 points. Cam Johnson, I will say, he had 14 points. Cameron Johnson, but he had one of the best dunks I've seen in a long time. DeAndre Ayton had 18 points, 9 boards. Chris Paul had 19 points. He was pretty good last night, 8 of 14 shooting, 9 assists. What you expect out of him, really. Mm-hmm. Jay Crowder had 18 points, but just not a lot of production off the bench. I mean, Payne at 7 points, Craig at 2, Frank Kaminsky at 6, Alexander at 2, Nader at 0. And a lot of guys didn't play after that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the Bucks needed that win desperately last night, and they got it. Home crowd was rocking. I mean, this is a franchise that hasn't won the finals or been to the finals since 74.
74.
They also made it in 71. The Suns hadn't made it since 93. They've never won it. So these are two franchises that were are desperate and hungry, and they want to take advantage while they're there, because you never know, you might not be back for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you hear it all the time with teams that make it to the championship, whether it be NBA or the Super Bowl. It's like you get there once and you think you're going to be there, next 3 to 4 years, and it never happens again. I mean, I remember listening to Pat McAfee talk about how his rookie seasons when they went and played the Saints in the Super Bowl, and he's like, all right, hey, we lost, but it's fine, we'll be back, and never made it back. So it's take advantage of it while you're there, because you never know.
Yep, it's like Super Bowl, I want to say, what year was that? I don't know what year, but Marino, I think it was the second year, makes Super Bowl. I know J-Man always likes to say that his dad, Dan Munt, wasn't even real too concerned when they lost. He goes, we'll be back to multiple. Never made it back to another one with Dan Marino. Yep. One and done. I mean, you just cannot take it for granted. Like even Cub fans, they won in 2016. I think they thought the last 5 years they'd at least be back to one more. And
I thought the same thing too. I was like, man, we're going to see. I'm not ready to watch the Cubs play in the World Series multiple years in a good span. So
it just doesn't happen unless you have a guy like Tom Brady behind center. Then it happens all the time. But that's a I could go on an hour for Tom Brady podcast, but no, I agree with you. I mean, I'm not the biggest NBA fan. I'm on record saying that many times, but this finals has been more intriguing to me than the super team ones with the Lakers involved. Oh, the bubble last year, just between the Lakers and Heat. I just wasn't invested in the bubble at all.
Yeah, I'm glad this year these teams are in it this year versus last year, because last year could have easily made the argument that it's a weird year. I mean, it was still a weird year because it's shorter season a little bit. Was it a shorter season? I know they started later, but I can't remember if they.
No, they got.
I still 81. Still got 81.
I think it was 81. If not, it was pretty darn close. Yeah, they just started later. That's why normally the finals would have been over in June. Yeah,
because we were going through on the stage, like, why has no NBA finals thing? Like, that's usually they're over in June. That's right. I mean, I'm glad it happened this year because hopefully gives teams. Hopefully it gives confidence to these smaller teams. I mean, I know I mentioned I'm not an Indianapolis fan, but I do enjoy watching the Pacers play, and hopefully this is something that can get them, because we need parity in the NBA.
We also need the Sonics back.
That's very true. It's just cool to see some of these smaller market teams. I mean, the Bucks. Giannis is an awesome player to watch. The fact that he's stuck around when he could easily gone elsewhere. I hope Devin Booker stays in Phoenix. I could very well easily see him going to LA or the Knicks. Like, for whatever reason, people.
Now they're good again. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice to see some parity while we have it.
Yeah, it is, and I'm hoping the super teams kind of stay away. I'm still scared Damian Lillard's going to get out of Portland and go somewhere like in LA or I don't even know where else. Brooklyn. I don't think they could go to Brooklyn, but Brooklyn, where they
There's not
already
enough
have
basketballs to go around if he goes to Brooklyn.
there already is Kyrie,
There's it now.
Harden, and Durant. But
Yeah.
I like that. All these small market teams are being competitive. Even the Denver Nuggets. I mean, they had a terrible injury to Jamal Murray right before the playoffs. That kind of really hurt their chances, but they were still pretty competitive. And it makes the league a lot more enjoyable to watch when everybody's kind of got a chance.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even like teams like the Jazz, who are obviously kind of been on the rise in the last couple of years, like those, it's fun to watch them compete in the West. And so the Nuggets, and I'm trying to think, I mean, you can argue the Mavs a little bit. I mean, I'm not sure they're super. I mean, Dallas is not a small market by any means, but we just don't see them.
I will say for Dallas, they got a superstar.
Oh, yeah.
Luka Doncic now, so they will get some attention where, I mean, the Nuggets, they've had the MVP this year. Maybe they'll finally get in some national games next year, which I know they had some this year, but it was like a lot of commentators want to say, well, he only won the MVP due to, this guy being out for 15 games or whatever. He was pretty darn consistent all year long. He's a very good player.
Yeah, and then you're going to get that anytime. They're saying the only reason the Suns are here is because of the 80s injury and, whatever list of other excuses. It's like, well, not their fault. I mean, it's not their fault. It's part of it.
Part of sports is injuries. You got to win a championship. You not only have to be really talented, you have to have some skill some skill and some luck on your side. A lot of luck. You got to have luck. I mean, like college sports, Final Fours, and championships. Yeah. How many times have we see good teams get knocked out? Look at Illinois this year.
Right.
I mean, they were primed and ready to go and got knocked out by Loyola in the second round. I know it was a weird year and everything, but and I know Josh and I have beat this topic to death the last 2 weeks, but you're a big college sports fan, like you said in the introduction, especially Purdue. I want to know your thoughts on the name, image, and likeness rule that was just passed not too long ago.
Absolutely love it. And it's been fun to watch, just kind of see like what types of deals these kids are getting. It's just entertaining to see like the companies they're partnering with and just some of the funny things. Like, I mean, I never thought Spencer Rattler got Raising Cane's. That was awesome. I didn't expect something that big when it first came out. I was expecting, some of these guys to get, a lot more local stuff, but it'll be interesting to see, especially when you get like a superstar, which I'm trying to think of like probably the superstar in college football right now. I'm drawing a blank because there's no Trevor Lawrence anymore. There's no Justin Fields anymore.
Sam Howell, maybe North Carolina. He's a top quarterback.
Yeah, but kind of like what those
De'Ara
types of guys can get.
Down to VU, which all the U guys are going to get paid $6,000 each. It looks like so.
But it really made me realize how dumb the rule was. Yeah. And what really drove home that thought was when it July 1st hit and the guys could do this. Someone on Purdue's roster, Xander Horvath, the running back, he tweeted out that he likes to draw and paint. I think he paints too. I'm not sure. And wanted to sell some of his artwork. And I was like, hold on, he couldn't do this beforehand just because of the fact that someone might buy it because of the fact that he's a running back on Purdue's football team. I was like, that is the dumbest thing in the world. I mean, especially when you look at the fact that, like, kids who are on academic scholarships, and these universities, they have none of these rules. People who, from my understanding, those who are, helping, these, big research universities, gain publicity and money for their research. I don't think they have those types of. I'm not 100% sure, but I would assume they don't have those types of rules where, hey, you can't go and make money because of your notoriety for doing, XYZ for the university. But yet here you have college athletes who, obviously they have, especially at the, the Power 5 level and Division I level, they do have a lot of resources available to them, and they do get a lot of, quote unquote free stuff. But I mean, still the fact that, a kid can't go to his hometown and host, a camp, football camp or a basketball camp in the summer to, give back to the community and make a little bit of money while he's doing it is so dumb. But the fact that they can do it now is awesome. I think you'll see a lot more of that. I think some people think that all these kids are going to be getting multi-million-dollar deals. And I don't think at least not right away. I don't see that happening unless I guess there's like a, a Zion Williams type type of player, which we don't really have right now in college, in my opinion. I think you're going to see a lot of these guys, getting a couple thousand here and there from a year worth of doing cameo or whatever it may be. But I think it's going to be good. It's going to be interesting to see how it affects parity in some of these sports. I mean, I know some people are worried about Alabama's going to get all the good kids now because of all this. It's like, they haven't been already. Like it's just gonna, the rich are gonna get richer, I think, and it's gonna be interesting it's gonna be interesting to see what happens to these, kind of that tier 2, not the, I guess you could throw Purdue in that tier 2 in terms of just not being the powerhouses and kind of being, more average or maybe a little bit below average in that, and kind of seeing what happens with those types of teams and if it affects them at all, or if it, I think it can help them in some ways, especially maybe speaking of just Purdue, just because of my loyalties. But in basketball, I think that could help with maybe some of the in-state kids, versus some guys going out or out of state, depending on where they're going. But I think it could be interesting to see how it affects kids who are thinking about going to the draft or going pro in general. If they stay, I think there's a chance they can make a little bit more money. Not maybe make more money, but make some money and improve their game. Because when you look at it, especially from like a basketball standpoint, think of a guy like, Robbie Hummel, for example, I think who would have made a killing if he would have been playing now. But when he goes pro or goes to Spain and plays in Russia, who's paying attention to his stat line? It's not these Timberwolves fans that saw him for a couple of years. It's the people who watched him play at Purdue and the Purdue fans, and it's the ones who are going to follow him until he hangs it up officially and in terms of everything. And I think that might encourage some guys to stick around a little bit more, even just the guys who are one and done, like a guy like Biggie Swanigan who only played 2 years, but we still kind of follow what he does just because we love watching him play so much. I think it's going to be interesting to see how these guys make decisions moving forward in terms of staying in school or dipping out earlier or whatnot, or even just how they make their college decision in general.
I can't add much more to that. I think you brought a lot of good points and made a lot of sense there.
What's funny though is it's going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of, I was heard on another podcast, but with these kids now making money, that's an income and you got to pay taxes on this. So it's like, there was a joke I heard on the Tyson Tate podcast of, who's going to be the first kid in Division I to get, put on probation because he's wanted for tax evasion. So maybe our good buddy Andrew Ellis should start an accounting firm to help these guys pay taxes. There's that, and also to see what types of deals these kids can get, because you've also got to think of, these universities have deals too, and it's like, are you going to see, this high-profile kid who plays on a Nike school get offered a commercial with Adidas or Under Armour? Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen, because I think the university would cut that out pretty quickly. But it's also the argument of the kids are supposed to be able to make money and have this autonomy because of their name, image, likeness. But obviously, these schools have these multi-million-dollar deals with these shoe companies. I don't think you'll see anything that drastic, but you could see competing restaurants or whatever it may be. It'll be interesting to see how that, if it ever comes to that, how schools handle that. People know, listening to your show, none of us like the NCAA, and the NCAA is going to screw this up in some form or fashion. Probably
they'll find a way.
But it's
a good starting point.
It's a good starting point. Yeah.
Yep. So, all right, I got a few more segments we need to get on before the show wraps up. One of those being the word association segment. It's been a Chicago sports-themed heavy episode, and it's going to continue with the word association tonight. Because I know you're a big Chicago sports fan, so I'm going to give you a bunch of Chicago sports athletes. I think most of these are former athletes. Some of them are current, but it's just ones that came to my mind. I'm going to give them to you. First thing that comes to your mind, shoot.
How embarrassing it's going to be when I know half of these people.
You'll know them all. Frank Thomas.
Big hurt.
Magler Ordonez.
I heard he was a jerk, so that's what I'm going to go with jerk. Right. Yeah, I heard he was not a nice player to fans when they wanted his autograph, so jerk.
Paul Konerko.
Paulie, love him, legend, the White Sox legend.
AJ Brzezinski.
Absolutely love him. It's just one of those guys who you loved him if you had him, hate him if you played against him. Some people probably hated him that were White Sox fans, but just a gamer. I think he was a very cerebral player, and he knew how to get under people's skin, and it worked.
Just ask Michael Barrett. Brian Urlacher.
Oh man, mixed feelings nowadays. He got some trouble, but I mean, he was an absolute beast, a monster. He put the monster in Monsters of the Midway.
Rex Grossman.
God,
that's pretty good right there.
That's all I can say.
Jay Cutler.
Oh, what a waste of talent! Just what could have been. What could have been had he been at his. If he had a head on straight.
Robbie Gould.
Clutch. Maybe not clutch, but consistent, I should say. We miss it in Chicago. Getting a little better, but.
Cody Parkey.
We know where it's going with this. Double doink for sure. And I was screaming at the television when it happened.
Derrick Rose.
What could have been? It's a bummer. But what? Youngest MVP in NBA history, I think. I didn't appreciate it when I watched him at the time, and now I look back and just like, man, it's just a bummer. It's one of those things. Just people had it when they played Michael Jordan, but he ran into LeBron James too many times, and it just wasn't meant to be. But I would love to see him come back to Chicago before just as a retire as a Bull. I hope that happens. So,
Luol Deng.
Consistent. He was pretty consistent with the Bulls. Was never really a superstar, but it was always pretty good.
Joakim Noah.
Oh, I loved him. He was an animal. Absolute animal. Great rebounder. Again, one of those guys who just knew how to get under. He was a smart player. He knew how to get under people's skin, and it worked. It was awesome to watch.
And I had 3 Blackhawks, but I'm going to just narrow down to one because of time concerns. Jonathan Toews.
Captain. What he brought to Chicago for the Blackhawks and bringing him back to prominence is something that was really fun to watch as growing up.
And the word association segment is brought to you by Rhett Lee, attorney at law. Rhett Lee and the law office of Andrew Key, LLC are located at 206 4th Street in Logansport, Indiana. Rhett provides legal services to the people of North Central Indiana and practices criminal defense, family law, and personal injury. If you need a lawyer who cares about your results and will fight for you, contact him today to schedule a free consultation at 574-722-2221. And we want to thank sponsor of the show, 2 years running, The Damn Landing. Whether you want an epic burger, hand-tossed pizza, hand-breaded tenderloin, seafood, craft beer, or a handcrafted cocktail, The Damn Landing is the place to be. The Damn Landing is a bar and grill located on beautiful Lake Manitou that focuses on freshness and quality. And, of course, they have 16 different beers on tap, including a constant rotation of today's best microbrews and domestic flavors. And you can get a handcrafted cocktail made using fresh ingredients. Taking the fantastic views of Lake Manitou and their beer garden, I cannot read today, beer garden or outdoor bar area, whether it be by boat or by wheels, the Damn Landing is the place to be, located at 1305 Ewing Road in Rochester. And this episode is also brought to you by Circle 15 Golf. I'm wearing my Circle 15 Golf hat today. Circle 15 Golf is a brand focused on bringing tour quality products and experience to the everyday golfer like Webby and myself. It's built on 25 years of tour experience, featuring the Genesis glove, the most durable and comfortable glove available, in the patented Glove Hub, the first and only glove humidor on the market. Find those hats, ball markers, div repair tools, and more at circle15golf.com. Very quickly, the British Open, or the Open Championship as everybody calls it, I like to call it the British Open, it's happening this weekend. It's at Royal St. George's. First time it's been there since 2011 when Darren Clark won. You know the weather's going to be nasty at least one day, if not 2 days. It's going to be rainy. It's going to be windy. So this is going to be the J-Man's Book Prediction of the Week, brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, Travis Watering. For life, home, auto, renters, business, workers' comp, and farm insurance, give Travis a call at 219-869-4561, or you can give him an email at travis.watching@infb.com. The J-Man says Roy McIlroy is going to get it done for his second Open Championship and his fifth major and his first one since 2014. But Tanner is going with Xander Schauffele. Any picks, Webby? Any pick at all?
I'm going with Rory. Go with J-Man.
All right. I can respect it. I wouldn't be mad if Rory wins. Yeah. Fingers crossed for Ricky Fowler. Yes, he actually is in the field this week, everybody. So back to the Birdie Bogey question that we started the show with. Tonight's the Home Run Derby. The Chicago White Sox, Evan's favorite team, has had 5 participants all time in the Home Run Derby. Name at least 4 of them for birdie, 3 of them for par.
Okay, I'm just going to rattle off 5, and you're going to tell me at the end. So Frank Thomas, Magglio Ordonez, Carlos Lee, Jim Thome, Jermaine Dye.
You got 2.
Dang it.
You got Frank Thomas. He was in 94-95, and Jermaine Dye in 06. Carlton Fisk in 1985.
Thought about him, I wasn't sure.
Paul Konerko in 2002.
Okay.
And Todd Frazier in 2016.
I forgot Todd Frazier did it with the Sox. I was thinking Carlton Fisk. I was thinking Paulie, but I can't remember. I felt good about Magglio and Carlos Lee, but whatever.
Well, that's going to do it for episode 243 of the Tan and J-Man Show. Thank you, Webby, for joining us. Anything you want to plug? Where can people follow you on the socials? And what podcasts are you involved with?
Yeah, nice plug. Social media, as I've got it here on the screen for the video viewers, @Ep243. That's for Twitter, Instagram. About the only 2 things I'm really on. But the big thing is follow the Boiler Breakdown podcast. It's the podcast Stan and I do with our good friend Andrew Eiler, really focusing on Purdue football and basketball. We're going to be ramping up here pretty soon as we get closer to college football. Can't wait. I think it's our third official season getting into it, and got some big things planned, got some awesome sponsors on board, and something I really love doing. And it's nice to take our Purdue group chat to the podcasting world and let people know what we talk about on a daily basis.
Yes, it is fun, and thank you for that plug. I might set you up for it a little bit, but
a little bit, yeah.
There we go. So once again, Webby, I've enjoyed it. Thanks so much for filling in for the J-Man. The J-Man will be back next Monday, same time, same channel, episode 244 of the Tan and J-Man Show. Have a great week, everybody.